Yes, sir. Hey, today we got a very special guest, my good friend and brother of the Paleo Hebrew Dictionary, Bible Dictionary, Dr. Lee Cummings, and he's joining us by Zoom today. We were talking over the weekend, and he gave me a great lesson dealing with the eighth day and the understanding of the eighth day. So I wanted him to come on today and talk to us about the eighth day because it's so important. After he showed it to me and told me about it, and I said, man, I really can appreciate this knowledge and understanding, and I want you to come on for a Zoom meeting with the congregation, the saints out in the south suburbs. So he graciously said yes, he'll come on and give us this presentation dealing with the eighth day. If you guys haven't gotten this book or looked on the website, he's the author of the Negro Question book series. How many books is it about from that series?
13, 14. This is the new one, y'all. The Negro Question.
It's upside down.
Oh, it's upside down. See, that's how late it is. This guy, Negro Question Paleo Hebrew Dictionary. This is the only book of its kind in the world.
Yes, sir.
And we got our own dictionary. So I got, and we're going to get to the lesson, but yesterday I got a phone call from, since this book has been marketed, I got a call from China. I got a call from Kenya, Africa, one of his contacts. I got a call from the Bahamas. They called me from Canada. And just like Martin Luther King said, if you're going to be a street sweeper, be the best that you can be. He said the world will be the path to your doorstep. And that is what's starting to happen. They're beating the path. So it's a real exciting time right now in Israel.
Hallelujah.
So he don't want to talk about that, all right? He wants to talk about the eighth day.
Yes, sir.
And just to show you how secretive the eighth day is, that if you were to Google the eighth day on the internet, it wouldn't bring back nothing. The internet is considered the World Wide Web. It's supposed to be the consciousness of mankind, 7 billion, allegedly 7 billion people. The entire consciousness of the earth is on the World Wide Web, but the eighth day is not in the consciousness of the internet because the world don't know nothing about it. We're going to show you, it's going to be a brief piece, at least I thought it was going to be.
You can make it as brief as you want, man. We here. Here's the Shabbat for us.
So to get this message started, and I'm gonna cut my phone off. We're gonna open this up in the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, because what you're gonna find is during the course of Yeshua or Jesus' ministry, all he ever truly talked about was the eighth day. And then he did it in such a way that it was concealed. He talked about his kingdom sometimes, but for the bulk of his ministry, all he was manifesting was the eighth day. We're gonna pick this up in Leviticus 23:1. I'll read some, you read some, since we don't have any readers, okay?
Okay.
So you want me to start off reading, or do you want to start off reading?
I can start off. And
Right,
Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of Yahweh, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation.
Now the Lord gave the man how many days to work?
6 days.
He only gave mankind 6 days to work, and then he brings in the seventh day. Yes. And we're gonna show you that these 6 days are prophetic, and that seventh day is a prophetic year. We're gonna show you how many years these are in total years. Let's go to 2 Peter 3 and 5. 2 Peter 3 and 5. Actually, 2 Peter 3 and 8. And once you get, I'm there now. Is it okay if you there?
I'm there too.
All right, 2 Peter 3 and 8.
But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with Yahweh as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day.
So now we're looking at how many years. He gave the man 6 days to work. So if one day is 1,000 years, what is 6 times 1,000? That's 6,000 years.
Yes, sir.
Let's just do some grammar school math. From Adam to Jesus is a total of 4 days or 4,000 years. From Jesus to us is a total of 2 days or 2,000 years. 4 plus 2 is what? 6. So what in terms of human history, we only have 6,000 years of human history. This is where we are. We're at the back end of the last day. Then he said the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. So what does this mean? This means that at the end of the 6th day, the next day that's going to follow is what day? The 7th day or the Sabbath day or the 1,000. Revelations 20th chapter, Revelations 20. And we're going to show you this 7th day.
You broke up on that last piece too. You said you got to the 7th day and then it broke up. It froze on us.
The first 6 days is 6,000 years.
Yeah.
Then that next day, that 7th day is also what? 1 day. It equals 1,000 years. So 6 plus 1 is 7.
Yeah.
7 days, a 7-day weekly cycle on God's time is what? 7 times 1,000, 7,000 years. This is the 7th day right here. We're going to look at it in the 20th chapter of Revelation. You want to read or you want me to read?
We're reading at verse 1?
Yeah.
And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the keys of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And
now that's the Sabbath day. So during the Sabbath day, the Sabbath of rest, which is 1 day, that 7th day, Satan gonna be bound for 1,000 years. Why? Because remember, the 1,000-year reign of Christ has to be what? Has to be peace and glorious. So you can't have no peace if the devil is loose.
Wow.
So during 1,000 years, during that 7th day, he gonna be bound. We're gonna see that. Keep going.
It says that and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season.
Well, go ahead.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgments was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yeshua, for the word of Yah, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Yeshua 1,000 years.
So this 1,000 years is the Sabbath. And we're going to show you in Aramaic. In Aramaic, the word rest is ayin rasha, and it is used in the ancient Aramaic to show a bed. And so that is the word for rest. And so this 1,000-year reign of Christ, where he's going to rest, rule, and reign for 1,000 years, is let's keep a marker here. Let's go to Hebrews, the 4th chapter. Paul is going to articulate on the Lord's rest in a very veiled manner. I'm going to pick it up. We're going to go to Hebrews, the 4th chapter, and we're going to pick it up at the 1st verse, and I'm going to start reading. Let us therefore fear lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest. That's that 1,000-year reign or that 7th day. Any of you should seem to come short of it. It says, for unto us was the gospel preached as well as unto them, but the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them which heard it. I'm going to skip down to verse 3. For we, which I believe do enter into rest, as he said, as I've sworn in my wrath, if they should enter into my rest. And Rosh in Aramaic. Although the works were finished from the foundation of the world, for he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and God did rest the seventh day from all his works. Paul is quoting Genesis, the second chapter, when he talked about these are the generations of the heavens and the heavens and the earth in the day that they were finished. Now, and then he said, and God rested on the seventh day. Well, Moses was prophesying, talking about what? Another day. Because at the time that Moses makes this assertion, it's in the second chapter of Acts. This is the blueprint for the second chapter of Genesis, which is the actual restoration of the heavens and the earth. Why? Because the book said in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And in the second verse, so the heaven and the earth was created in the beginning, but the 12th chapter of Revelation teaches you that there was war in heaven.
Right.
So once you see the war in heaven and Satan was cast to the earth in the 12th chapter of Revelation, then the book said the earth was void and without form. But Job talked about it before the war in heaven. Job said that in the 38th chapter of Job, that when God laid the foundation for the earth, all the morning stars sang for joy, which means that the angels was what? That was before the fall of the angels. It was all good. Then when you bring in that 12th chapter of Revelation, it says, and there was war in heaven. And then it says Satan was cast to the earth with a third of the angels. And from then, when you go back to read that second verse in Genesis, the book said the earth was what? Void. Void means what? Wide. Without form means what? It was in a gas state. It had no form. Because not just a gas state, how come it didn't have form? Because the earth was what? Submerged underwater.
Yeah.
You put dirt underwater, what happened? It spreads out.
Yeah.
So now, when Moses is talking about the Lord's rest, he talking about what? He was talking about something in the second chapter of Genesis that was not going to happen for 6,000 more years.
Powerful. Powerful.
Interesting. In Hebrews. Did we leave? Did we go? Where did we go?
You paused for a minute. You said he wouldn't do it for 6,000.
Let's go back to we're back in Hebrews, right?
Yeah.
So we're still in Hebrews. So now this rest that he's talking about, keep reading and I'm reading, right?
6th verse.
Yeah, verse 6. Seeing therefore. But he's teaching Hebrews. So he doesn't feel like, you can see, if you know anything about this book, he talks to the Hebrews totally different than he talks to the Gentiles. He basically leads them by the hand. When he's talking to the Hebrews, he's talking in such a way like y'all supposed to know this. So what is he talking about? He's talking about when the children of Israel came out of Egypt and how 600,000 foot soldiers from 20 years old and upward were not allowed to enter into the land of Canaan.
Wow, powerful.
Because what? They murmured, and because of their unbelief.
Yes.
And not only that, they stopped Moses from going in the land too.
Wow.
So they were not able to enter in because of what? And into his rest because of what? Unbelief, but not just unbelief, they murmured.
Yeah.
Lord had me to do this because I murmured today.
Better watch it. That's good. So they didn't enter in the 7th day for all of his work.
Lesson. Give me like a few minutes. I'll be
wow, this place again. For they shall enter into my rest, seeing therefore it remaineth there, some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached enter not in, because of unbelief. Wow.
That's them old timers coming through the wilderness. That's them. Hey, that was Kohath. That was all them cats. Lord ran them cats around in a circle for 40 years until he killed them all off.
Wow.
21, and the book say it was 600,000 foot soldiers from the 12 tribes. But let's go a little further in this.
Verse 7.
Yeah.
Again, he limited a certain day, saying in David, today, after so long a time, as it is said, today, if ye will hear his voice and harden not your heart.
Listen. When the Lord comes back at the sound of the seventh trumpet, he going to descend, the book said he going to descend with the armies of heaven. He going to come with the angelic host. Then the dead in Christ going to rise. Then we which remain. Then he going to go down. He's going to go down in the 14th chapter of Zechariah, and his feet going to touch down on the Mount of Olives. And he's going to have the saints with him. They're going to fight the battle of Armageddon. Then he got to go down into the wilderness where the church was during the tribulation period. He's going to go down. He's going to teach for another 3.5 years. Some of them cats that's going to go down into the wilderness with the Lord, they're not going to enter into his rest because he's going to purge out the rebels in the wilderness, just like he purged them out when they came out of Egypt. This is why I want to keep a marker here. Let's go to Ezekiel, the 20th chapter, and we're going to show you. They go just like it happened in the days of Moses. When the Lord come back at the sound, he's going to go down into the wilderness. In fact, before we go there, just to prove to you that he's going to the wilderness, let's go to Isaiah 16:1. Isaiah 16:1. Because with the sound of that seventh trumpet, he's going to say, send the lamb somewhere. Go ahead, Isaiah 16:1.
Send ye the lamb to the rulers of the land, from Selah to the wilderness, unto the mount of the daughters of Zion.
Send him where? Who is the lamb? That's Jesus or Yeshua.
Yeah.
Send the lamb to the what? To the wilderness.
To the wilderness, unto the mount of the daughters of Zion.
When is that? Wait a minute. When he came the first time, he didn't go to the wilderness to pick to gather scattered people or people that was hiding. And in fact, just to prove that to you, let's keep reading. Go ahead.
For it shall be that as a wandering bird cast out of the nest, so the daughters of Moab shall be at the fords of Arnon.
That's a secret right there. And so another time if he invite me on, then I'll tell you what it is. But right now I'm not telling.
Come on, man. Give us a secret, man. Give us a secret.
No, come on, man. Let's keep going. That's a secret. Go ahead.
Take counsel, execute judgment. Make thy shadows as the night in the midst of the noonday. Hide the outcast. Bereft not him that wander.
What outcast? He talking about what? See this during the 6th day. Man, this guy, y'all gonna make me teach. Keep a marker here. Now he said, hide the outcast. Why the outcast in the wilderness? And why did the lamb have to go to the wilderness to get his people?
Come on, man.
Let's go to Matthew 24. All this is on the back end of the 6th day. Let's go to Matthew 24, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 3. No, pick it up at verse 24:1. Go ahead.
24:1. And Yeshua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the builders of the temple.
Verse 3.
And he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? What shall these things be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world?
These are some great questions. You know what? These guys, to me, they had moments where they blacked out and they wasn't too bright.
Right.
You know, but this is one of the few times in the New Testament, what they call the testimony, where these guys actually asked an important question, man, when you coming back, man? And what's the sign of the end of the world? I give these cats a hand clap 2,000 years later for this one act.
Yeah.
Now, skip down to verse 15.
15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by the prophet, by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand.
See, so what Yeshua is telling the Hebrews is that, listen, man, when you see the abomination and make of desolate, which is the Pope, when you see him go into the third temple, let him read it. Whoever read, you better get you some understanding. Because this is that great sign. Remember, they asked the Lord, what's the sign of your coming in the end of the world? He gave earthquakes, disease, pestilence, and diverse places, man against man, woman against woman, family against family members. Then he slid down to this 15th verse and gave that great sign. What's associated with the man, the Pope going into the temple? The third temple has to be rebuilt. So when you see that third temple, then they start building that third temple, know that the end is near. So the Lord said, well, when you see that homosexual with that dress on from the Vatican, go inside that temple, whoso readeth, let them understand. Now watch what he tells them to do when the Pope goes inside the temple. Watch what he tells the people to do. You know what? You might have to scratch that. Because maybe we should scratch that part and then come back with this. Let me come back with this, because you're gonna edit this anyway, right?
No, I'm gonna play it like it is, man.
Okay, well, let's keep going then. Now let's see what he tells them what to do after the Pope goes inside the temple. Go ahead, verse 16.
Verse 16. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains.
Wait a minute. This kills the rapture, because they taught in the Sunday churches that once the Pope went inside, the Antichrist went inside the temple, the Lord was going to rapture them off the earth. No, the book said what? Flee.
Flee.
So if you're going to flee somewhere, why would you, if the Lord is going to take me off the earth during the tribulation period, why I got to run and hide in the mountains?
Good question.
That is it. That is what? That is illogical. This is what they want you to believe. They want you to believe something that makes no sense. So the Lord said, what? And then skip down to verse 20.
But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day.
When I read this, I thought to myself, maybe the Lord's talking about an airplane. No, you took a flight, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so he said, well, pray that your flight, that when you run it, that it ain't in the winter time. That makes sense, don't it?
Yeah, it does.
So this kills the rapture theory, because if he's telling me to run, you ever heard that song? It said, running for my life.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I've been running this race for a mighty long time, and I'm not tired yet. Y'all
come on, man.
Yeah, I know you didn't know. Y'all know that song. I grew up in the church.
Man.
Once the Antichrist goes inside the temple, once you see that temple being built, your ears ought to perk up like a dog that's hearing a sound, a watchdog. Then once you see dude go inside the temple, it is fleeing time. And we still ain't entered into the Lord's rest. We on the back end of the 6th day, the year 6000.
Yeah.
Watch this next scripture. Go ahead.
It says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
He's talking about this great tribulation, not since the beginning of the world. Wait a minute. I thought the church was going to be gone before the tribulation period. So why is he talking about the tribulation period? Skip down to verse 29.
29 says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light.
He says immediately before the tribulation period, right?
After.
No, he said before.
After.
Oh, so somebody can read on this show.
Yes, sir.
These other religions, when they come to you, they come to you and tell you that's not what that means.
That's true.
Leave here and go down to verse 30. Immediately after the tribulation period, something's going to happen. Verse 30.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the cloud with power and great glory. I grew up on the rapture.
When does that go? When does that go happen? Immediately after, not before. You got these Gentiles. You got these Gentiles in these seminaries, Moody Bible Institute.
Yeah.
What's that dude name? Jimmy Swaggart, the crying preacher.
Yeah.
All the Gentile ministers from these mega churches.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's figurative. That is not figurative. This ain't the lesson today. We're not doing the tribulation period. We're doing the 8th day. But in order to do the 8th day, we have to show you this.
Yes.
All this has to take place before you enter into the Lord's rest. This all this that we're looking at is the 6th day.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I grew up on the rapture. I came to the Most High because of the movies that they showed us back in the 80s. The Thief in the Night, Taking the Mark of the Beast. I said, man, I don't want to be left behind. Save me, go to the altar crying. So when I came to the Hebrew truth and understanding, it just rocked my whole, because I'm reading this and I'm saying, how can this don't fit into the theology? And I had to come to a realization that maybe what I was taught was wrong, and it was a hard pill to swallow.
But in the defense of the Sunday church, but I used to didn't do that. My whole thing was crushing. But in the defense of the Sunday church is this: if a man has a glass of water and he's been drinking murky, dirty water his whole life, he ain't never had a glass of clean water. He ain't never seen a glass of clean water. He gonna think that the dirty water is what? It's good, clean water.
Yeah.
But the moment he sees a glass of clean water, he drinks that clean water, now he has something to compare it to.
Yes, sir.
The Negro, the so-called Negro, or the so-called African-American, he had nothing to compare the truth to from 1619 in the southern states to recently.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King didn't even have the truth, even though he was that dude in terms of, the Spirit of the Lord was on him to lead Israel out of that hard bondage. But Martin didn't know the truth. Malcolm didn't know the truth. These were great guys. These was Israelites. These Hebrews. They weren't Israelites. They were Hebrews. Yet they still were not the elect. They could not see.
So that's the difference between Hebrew and Israelite. Give us that definition of between.
Well, there's a difference between an Israelite and a brother that's Israel. Israel he was born in the church. Every Hebrew, every so-called Negro that came by way of the North Atlantic slave trade and the original colonists, they were Hebrews, they Israel. But an Israelite is a brother that can see. So everybody that you meet is not an Israelite. They still Israel. They have no light. So they can't be an Israelite.
Powerful.
That's interesting, ain't it?
That's a powerful definition too.
Just the way it is. And you got some folk out there, they found out they was Israel, that's all they know. Like people try to box me in and say, oh, that brother, he deals with, no, I don't deal with Hebrew. I don't just deal with Aramaic. That's just one component of me. I read, write, teach, translate, I preach the gospel, I teach history in school. So you cannot allow people to put you in a box because they want to define you to take weapons from you and to have authority and power over you. But anyway, getting back to the lesson, the church was hiding in the wilderness. How do I know that? The 16th chapter of Isaiah, the book said, when you see the Antichrist go inside the temple, it's time to what?
Flee.
Run, flee in time. Flee where? We're going to show you. Now let's go to Ezekiel 20 and we'll get back to the lesson. I didn't think this was going to be this in depth. I was going to do a little short piece and break out.
Yeah, I know, man. You always want to do little short pieces, man. Come on, give us.
I get accused of that on a regular basis. You
got to knock it off, man. Knock it off.
Let's go to Ezekiel, the 20th chapter.
All right.
Because remember, the Lord said that Paul taught that because those brothers murmured in the wilderness, they murmured in the wilderness, the Lord said, okay, you ain't going to enter my rest. That rest was the land of Canaan at that time. This is what Paul is talking about.
Gotcha.
And so because they murmured, the Lord walked them around that desert for 40 years until all the men of war died. And then after all the men of war died that was 20 years old and upward, he had Joshua to circumcise them right before they went into the land of Canaan, and then they entered into his rest. But there's a greater rest. And let's take a look. Same thing that happened to them is going to happen to us. Let's go to Ezekiel, the 20th chapter, and pick it up at verse 32.
32?
Yes, sir.
32 says, and that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all that ye say, we will be as the heathens, as the family of the countries, to serve wood and stone. As I live, saith Yahweh Elohim, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people, and I will gather you out of the country, wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. Like as
Hey, he said what? Verse 35. I'm going to bring you where? Into the wilderness of the people. And there will I what? Plead with you face to face. That's why the scripture, 16th chapter of Isaiah said, send ye the land where? To the wilderness. But before then, Matthew 24 and 15, he said what? 15 said, flee to the mountain. So this is where they ran. They ran to the wilderness. And then the book said that's the reason why Isaiah said, send you the lamb to the wilderness. That's where the church gonna be during the tribulation period. But keep reading.
I got that question though right there.
Go ahead.
What wilderness are we supposed to flee to? Is it in the United States of America?
It's another lesson.
Okay.
We'll do it. It's a secret, man. We'll do it. We'll do a piece.
Because there's 52 wildernesses that the Bible mentions.
We're gonna do a piece called The Great Secret. This way they be like, hey, what is he doing that again? Go ahead. Verse 37.
Okay. And I will,
verse 36.
let like as I plead with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, says Yahweh.
So now he done made, the Most High, he done made it real plain that he's talking about a second event. He said, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of Egypt. So watch the keep reading. Go ahead.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
What covenant? The 10 Commandments. That Sunday preacher told you, you ain't got to keep the 10 Commandments. The Lord is so serious about his 10 Commandments that he said, I'm going to bring you into the wilderness and bring you under the what? The bond, which is the bone. The bone of the covenant. Why is he talking about bone? See, they put a D on the end of it. It should be bone. Bone of what covenant? We a family. I'm going to bring you under the bone or the bona or the boona or the bana of the covenant of the what? Of the bread. Why? We fam.
Yeah.
So we are, that's why he called us what? He called us brothers.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm going to bring you into the wilderness and I'm going to bring you under the bone of the covenant. Why? Because remember, what did Adam tell Eve? Bone of my bone. Yeah. And what is the church? The church is his what? Yeshua's is his bride.
Yeah.
So we bone to his bone. And the only way you can have a covenant is through what? Through a marriage. That ain't the lesson today, though.
That's good. Come on.
The marriage, he always talks about the marriage supper of the Lamb. Why? Because he's going to marry his bride. She's going to be his what? His bone. But anyway, when he bring you down to what? He going to bring you down to the wilderness, bring you to the bond of covenant. Now read verse 38.
38. And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel.
Wait a minute. So these cats that when the tribulation period starts, when they see the Pope go inside the temple, They're going to flee into the wilderness, and they're going to be down there for 42 months, which is equivalent to 3.5 years. And then at the sound of the seventh trumpet, the Lamb got to go. He got to go fight Armageddon, and then he got to take the resurrected saints down into the wilderness to meet Group A. Group A has been in the wilderness since what? Since the Pope went into the temple.
Let me ask a question. How we know that this is the Pope? Where does that say? I don't see nothing to say Pope in this Bible.
That's another lesson. That's in Revelation. We can't, hey, man, we can't do all these pieces at once. You just go out, y'all, hey, don't ever do this about what I'm about to say, but you got to take my word on this. But don't ever take I'm telling you, don't ever take a minister's word on nothing.
That's right.
So we're going to come back and do a part two. We'll do a part two.
Okay.
So the Lord, the resurrected saints, remember the elect, the Israelites, they fled to the wilderness when they saw the Pope going to the temple because they had what? They had light. What is light in Latin? Illuminate or Illuminati. So who are the original Illuminati or the original lights? It was Israel.
Yeah.
What did John say about Yeshua when he came to the temple? This is that light.
Right.
They're coming into the light of every man. They're coming into, this is that illuminator, that Illuminati.
Come
All
on,
the world is doing is take, see, you all think they got something. They ain't got nothing. They stole that from us. But our teachers are so weak. They're not teaching us nothing. They're teaching us a bunch of lessons over and over and over again. But let's leave here. He said, I'm going to bring them into the wilderness. I'm going to bring them under the bone of the covenant, the family, and them cats that don't keep the commandment, the Sabbath day, that don't keep the dietary law, that don't keep the holy days. When I bring you down that wilderness, I'm going to bring you into all that. If you decide and you get down there and you slip into town and eat a pork chop and come back in the wilderness, I'm going to bust your head. Don't nobody see me. I'm going to oink, oink. Going oink. Lord gonna be sitting there looking at you, right? As soon as you come down in that, come back down that wilderness, bing, bang. You ain't gonna make it. So he said,
Pumpkin head, right?
Right. So he said they're not gonna make it where? Into the land of Israel. So just like the rebels didn't make it into the land of Canaan during Joshua's days and Moses' days, during the tribulation period, he said he's gonna bring all Israel into the wilderness, and this gonna give hope to somebody out here. I hate to say this, but I have to.
Come on.
He gonna bring all Israel, the homosexual Israelite, Hebrew, the lying Hebrew, the murderer, the adulterer, the thief. All of Israel is gonna make it into that wilderness. But he said, but he put a stipulation on it. I'm gonna bring you under the bond of the covenant. I'm gonna ask you, do you accept the terms of this relationship? If you say no, you're going to get purged in the wilderness. You're going to be just like them other cats. You're going to fall in the wilderness. You're not going to make it into the land.
Woo-wee.
This is an allusion to what? Entering into his rest. Because when they come about this wilderness, the Lord, see, people don't understand. He has 3.5 years left on his ministry to teach. He was supposed to teach for a whole week. He only taught for half a week, which is 3.5 years. So when he brings the church down into the wilderness, he got to teach for another 3.5 years. You got 3.5 years to change your way of thinking. You don't change in 3.5 years. Like them shorties used to sing this song, oops, upside your head, oops, upside your head. Right?
But look at the mercy. Look at the mercy in that though.
Your mercy is 33, that's 42 months, 3.5 years. That's your mercy. Now, so you see, now Paul is talking about another group of people in 1496 BC that went down into the wilderness, and 600,000 of them fell in the wilderness. And then now the Lord, the prophet Ezekiel, is talking about what? Another group coming down into the wilderness. And he's saying, some of y'all ain't gonna make it out the wilderness. Now let's go back to Hebrews, the 4th chapter, and pick up Paul the apostle talking about the Lord's rest. Now we got a little what they call clarity.
Yeah.
Paul ain't talking about Ezekiel talking about them cats that's gonna make it into the kingdom. That's that first resurrection. But there's a group that's gonna be in that wilderness that didn't take on the change. They're gonna still because they ain't ready. So let's go back to Hebrews, the 4th chapter.
We'll be at 4 what?
4th chapter. Yes, my life is strange, man. 4 and okay, pick it up at verse 7. Hebrews 4, the 4th chapter and the 7th verse.
It says, again, he limited a certain day, saying in Dawid, today, after so long a time, as it is said, today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts.
He's talking about this right here. Don't be a stiff-necked, hard-headed. You know, the old timers called him a hard-headed Negro. That ain't the word they used to use. He said, don't harden your heart. Go ahead.
It says, for if Yeshua has given them rest, then would he not afterwards have spoken of another day? There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of Yah. For he
and that rest is the Sabbath day. That's the reason why he gave us a Sabbath day, because the Sabbath day was supposed to, we were supposed to understand it. Yeah, we keeping a weekly Sabbath. Some of you guys keep what they call a floating Sabbath. We don't even want to get into that.
Okay.
Okay. Some of them keep a floating Sabbath. Most of us keep a weekly Sabbath. But the Lord's thing is that Sabbath day was supposed to point to a 1,000-year rest. Another day, a Sabbath that was going to last for 1,000 years. Now let's go back and look at that. Now we go back to Revelation 20th chapter.
Wow, wow. I got a song that I wrote. I had no idea, man. I was writing about this. That's why this message is so important. Revelation 20?
Yes, sir. Revelation 20. And we're going to pick it up at verse 4 again.
Wow. Wow.
Now we're looking at this is the rest that the Lord is talking about. That rest that he's talking about another day. That the book said if the Lord had given them rest, he would have been talking about what? Another day. This is that rest. And this is the 7th day. This is the Revelation 20 and 4.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgments was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yeshua, for the word of Yah, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Yeshua 1,000 years.
That's that rest that he was talking about. Now I'm going to show you something about this rest. The Lord put the fix in that everybody ain't going to enter into this rest. And we're going to show you. He does a separate, not only does some of them ain't going to take on the change, because the book say he's going to descend with the shout of the archangel, the trumpet of God, the dead in Christ going to rise. Then we which remain. So everybody ain't taking on the change. Some the dead in Christ going to rise. Some going to be called up to be with him in the clouds. But some ain't going to take on the change. Keep reading. Watch this.
But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
So some of them entered into his rest, that first resurrection, because they took on the change and they became godlike. But this other group, they didn't get up out the grave. They did not enter. And now they're resting in the grave, but they didn't enter into his rest. Because when you enter into the Lord's rest, you live for what? Forever. So these cats didn't enter into his rest. They're still laying there. They don't even know that the first resurrection took place, because it is written, the dead know nothing. Interesting, ain't it? And we still ain't got to the 8th day yet.
Man.
Now this is the what? The 7th day. This is what Paul is. Now Paul is trying to make these Hebrews or these or Israel to understand, because the Pharisees, the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection.
Yeah.
So Paul is teaching the resurrection in the 4th chapter of Hebrews.
Powerful.
And he's using as an example what? The Holy Scriptures of our fathers coming out of Egypt and our fathers going back into the wilderness in Ezekiel. Is that all right?
Man, come on.
So this the 7th day. These cats, what? They didn't enter into his rest, and we're gonna prove to you. After there are two resurrections. And the lesson is supposed to be on the 8th day, but before we can do the 8th day, you got to lay this foundation.
Come on, man, lay it.
So now we're on the 7th day. And the 7th day lasts how long? 1,000 years.
1,000 years.
Keep going. Verse 6.
It says, blessed and holy is he that have put in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power, but they shall be priests unto Yahweh and of Yeshua, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nation.
Wait a minute. So when the 7th day comes to an end, what's the next day?
Got to be either the first day or the 8th day.
Right. So now on the 8th day, Satan get loosed out of his prison. Big things gonna happen on this 8th day. Yeah, I know. Right.
Wow, I gotta track
see
that,
how we
man.
did that? We went from the 6th day, and we went straight to the event that ended the 6th day. Well, that started at the end of the 6th day. The Pope going into the temple signifies that once he hits that temple, that the 6th day is going to be over with in 3.5 years. At the conclusion of the 6th day, you go into the 1,000-year reign of Christ, which is the 7th day. That's what the Sabbath was pointing to all the time. That's why the book said when he sanctified the Sabbath day and he blessed it. So at the end of the 7th day, dude gets out of prison. The man angel, Satan, the fallen angel Lucifer, he gets let out of prison for a season. Keep going.
Man, I'm writing my notes, man. I'm writing my notes real quick. Okay.
We are at we're gonna pick it back up. No, let's go back at Revelation 20:7 for the
okay, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. And
takes place on the 8th day. Go ahead.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And when they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city, and fire came down from Yah out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil.
But wait a minute. Why was the saints on the earth in Jerusalem? Because remember, when Jesus was in the wilderness teaching for 3.5 years, after he purged out the rebels, what did he do? He went up to Jerusalem. And from there, he ruled the earth for 1,000 years, because Jerusalem became the new United Nations during the 1,000-year reign of Christ. All the dons and the princes and the kings and the dictators had to come to Jerusalem to get their martyr. The book said the saints was what? Satan what? He encompassed the camp of the saints. He didn't go up to heaven. They was right here on earth.
Yeah.
But keep going.
It says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstones, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.
Go ahead. Wait a minute. So on the 8th day, there's great. So on the 8th day, Satan gets what? Loose from his prison. Also on the eighth day, he gets cast into the lake of fire. That's the end of the old boy. That's the end of dude, the boogeyman. Excuse me, y'all. There's something else happens on the eighth day. Go ahead.
And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was found no place for them.
So when does the heaven and the earth flee away, pass away? On what day?
On the seventh day, maybe to the eighth day.
On the eighth day, it flee. You know why the heaven and the earth don't pass away on the seventh day? Because the Lord is here ruling for 1,000 years. So you gotta have somewhere to sit.
And
the people got to be able to walk up and down in the earth, right?
Right.
And fly the airplanes in the open firmament.
Right.
So on the eighth day, that's why now we got some clarity. The book he said, think not that I come to destroy the law nor the prophets. He said, I didn't come to destroy, but to fulfill. He said, not one jot or two will pass from the word. He said, what? Heaven and earth will pass away first.
Right.
What day was he talking about when he said that?
The eighth day. Got it.
That's when heaven and earth gonna pass away, brothers.
Wow.
But also, you got the judgment on the eighth day. Skip down to verse 12.
Okay, verse 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Yah, and the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works.
Now, this is the second resurrection. This is the group that didn't enter into his rest. So now they got to stand there, and that could be anybody under the sound of my voice, including the preacher himself. If we don't make that first resurrection, we got to get up in the second resurrection and be judged for the things that we did or did not do. It's easy to do a lesson, but it's hard to point the finger at yourself while you doing the lesson.
That's right.
Because Aaron had to make an atonement for himself, and then he made the atonement for the people. We all need the atonement. Everybody that's under the sound of my voice, including Brother Cummings. So on the eighth day, the group that's going to barely make it into the kingdom get up. And the reason I know you got a shot at it on the eighth day if you in the second resurrection, because if you ain't got no shot at it, you ain't gonna even stand in the judgment. Because if you go back and read about the beast and the false prophet, the book said it was cast alive into the lake of fire. They didn't have no shot at it. So the Lord said, ain't no use you standing, ain't no use to me resurrected on you. Get you out the game right now. Think about that.
It's powerful.
The beast and the false prophet was cast into the lake of fire on the seventh day. Right before the Lord went up to Jerusalem to sit down, first thing he did was he cast the Pope and the emperor, the Holy Roman Emperor, alive into the lake of fire. They didn't even die the normal death of a man. Powerful. And so skip down to verse 13.
And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the dead, death, and hell delivered up the dead which was in them, and they were judged every man according to their works.
This proves that there was a second resurrection.
Yeah. Because
the first resurrection happened 1,000 years before, at the beginning of at the end of the sixth day, right when that seventh trumpet sound. First resurrection, Jesus goes down and fights Armageddon. Then he goes down into the wilderness. He teaches 3.5 years. Then he goes up. He goes up into Jerusalem, and as soon as he sits down in that seat after he put down all war in the earth and burns all the weapons, that begins the seventh day. He rules for 1,000 years. At the end of the 1,000 years, the seventh day, Satan is loose for prison on the eighth day. Satan goes to the lake of fire on the eighth day. Heaven and earth pass away. The books are open. The heaven and earth pass away. No, the second resurrection. Everybody got them cats that didn't enter into his rest for 1,000 years. They got to stand up there and do like this. Hey, man, that's going to be an ugly day.
Yeah, it is.
Now, let's leave here and now we're going to make it plainer. Let's go to Revelations 21 and 1, the 8th day. Go ahead.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea.
All this takes place on what? On the 8th day. Keep going.
And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Yah out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of Yah is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yah himself shall be with him and be their Yah. And
so
Yah shall,
on the 8th day, we're going to meet the one that they call the Father. And that's what in the 5th chapter of John, Yeshua, Jesus is preaching, and he tells the brother, no man have seen the Father at any time, nor seen his shape, nor heard his voice. Yes. On the 8th day, the mystery of the Father will be done away with. Why? Because the species man will not exist anymore. When the 8th day roll around, man gonna be something else. He has elevated himself to a position where the Father says, okay, I'm gonna come hang out with these guys. What is man now that the Father ain't got no problem hanging out with us? Because all the way up to this point, we only dealt with the one called the Son. We're gonna show you real quick. On the 8th day, this is what man is gonna become. Let's go to Psalms 82nd chapter. And then I'm gonna end it with one more place. And that's it. I'm tired.
I love Psalms 82nd, man. Come on. You throwing a punch here, punch there, uppercut there. Man.
Go ahead, brother. Hey, break us off. Go ahead.
Hey, it says we're going to the verse 1.
Yes, sir.
Verse 1, 82nd Psalm. Yah standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the gods.
Wait a minute. Now we know that in the beginning he said, let us make man in our image. There's only 2 of them. Psalms 110 and 1, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit on my right hand till I make thy enemies thy footstool. And then Big John 16 and 17, Yeshua, he's praying to the Father. He said, Father, I have manifested thy name to the men that thou gavest me. Glorify thy name. Give me back my glory that I had with you in the beginning. And so now he's talking about he gonna judge among the gods. That's plural. What's he talking about? This is what man is gonna become. Watch this. Skip down to verse 6.
It says, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High, but ye shall die like men.
And so this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen when the species man ceases to exist. Because what is man that thou art mindful of him? He's live. Let's go back to Revelation just to
Hey, say that again, man. Your face literally froze. What did you say? What is man that thou art mindful of him?
What is man? What is man? Well, in one place he's called a worm. Yeah. But in another place it says, what is man that thou art mindful of him? What is man? He ain't nothing but a flesh being.
Yeah.
And then it's also written, no man could see God and live. So let's see if you can see God, you either got to be an angel or you got to be God-like. Let's go look at this in Revelation. Because if man can see God eye to eye, face to face, he's no longer a man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's tight, ain't it? He ain't man no more.
Revelation's what?
Revelation the 20, hold on. Revelations 22 and 3.
It says, and there shall be no more curse, But the throne of Yah and of his Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him.
That's two gods, the throne of the Father and the Lamb. That's two gods. That's why you got a conjunction there called "and." It's linking the two God. It's linking the two individuals, God and the Lamb. Well, go ahead.
It says,
Verse
and
4.
his servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads.
But Moses said, Moses writes that no man could see God and live.
Yeah.
So if the resurrected saints can see the Father's face, what are they? They are gods. Not big gods, but you the children. If your daddy is God, what will that make you?
Yeah.
Man, on the 8th day, and you could quote me on this, whoever you are, on the 8th day, the species man will cease to exist. There will be another new creation. The new creation is what? The family of God. That is what takes place on the 8th day, and that's all I got.
Man, that was good, brother. Good lesson, man. Good lesson.
Appreciate it.
Man, thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming and sharing with the people. People need to hear this kind of stuff. They haven't been exposed to a lot of this truth and this understanding. But when we begin to talk, and I've always wanted friends and people in my life that want to talk nothing but about the word of Yah. There ain't nothing more important than his word. Man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of his mouth. So thank the Father for you being my friend. And we're sharing the word, and iron sharpen iron. And that's how we sharpen the confidence of our friends. And I appreciate you sharpening me up every time we get on the phone. It's not about the weather. It's not about the Cubs or the Bears. It's all about that right there.
Hey, man, listen. Guys, go to the bookstore. Get this dictionary. You're doing yourself a great disservice by not investing in something that was created for you. And look at that. That's the
It got a lot of stuff in there, man.
shot of Moses from the Georgia Roman synagogue. And look at just the internal construction of this dictionary. There's nothing like it on the earth. Right now, we're in the process of trying to get this book placed inside these charter schools. So y'all help us out. And if you buy the book, I ask one thing of you. Take your book, carry your book around with you. Let folks see your book. That's the best marketing and advertising we can get. But at the end of the day, as we put a conclusion on this, that's why Jesus said in a number of places, he said that my Father is greater than I. And you can see that the eighth day is the greatness of the 8th day is the 7th day. Even though he's going to be here reigning on the earth for 1,000 years, men are still going to be dying. There's still going to be sorrow. There's still going to be crying. There's still going to be pain. That 8th day, death will be no more. It's a new beginning, a new creation. No death, no sorrow, no pain, none of that. All that's going to, former things are going to be passed away, and the species man will no longer exist.
Powerful.
I know that's cold, ain't it?
Man, that's cold, boy.
All right, bro.
Hallelujah, man. Thanks again, Brother Cummings, Dr. Cummings, for coming on tonight.